Along with the severe health and humanitarian crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic, executives around the world face enormous business challenges: the collapse of customer demand, significant regulatory modifications, supply chain interruptions, unemployment, economic recession, and increased uncertainty. Here are the 10 businesses and industries greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 1. Restaurants and food services. A significant issue is the government's initiative to underwrite loans from the banks to businesses, with the provision that those businesses be viable. Most restaurants, even apparently successful ones, run on a tight financial model, riding seasonal waves of trade, often with great peaks and troughs. The first 3 months of the year just gone are famously a major trough. Viable restaurants could easily be made unviable by the lockdown itself. Restaurateurs report that some landlords have been extremely accommodating by offering to write off up to 3 months' rent. Others have been far less flexible. But the bluntest of issues is, will there be any customers? There will probably still be a demand for social distancing at first. And even if there isn't, people's behavior may well have changed. With all this time at home, people will have learned to cook more and take pleasure in it. People think that restaurants are purely in the food and drink business, but it is not. It's an atmosphere business. The food is terribly important, but it's not what brings people in. It's about the social side. And who will want to socialize after this? The optimistic view is that after a lengthy lockdown, there may be lots of people who want to go out. But then again, lots of people have lost their jobs and will be absolutely skint. Number 2. Malls and shopping centers. We have seen the impact the coronavirus outbreak has had on retailers. Business is way down. Malls are typically built around anchor stores that occupy multiple floors and tens of thousands of square feet. All the smaller stores in between that sell clothing or jewelry or hot pretzels rely on those anchors to bring in customers. The mall becomes less attractive as a destination. If traffic is lower out of fear to congregate, or if government stay-at-home mandates return again, the aftermath of such an approach would likely be nothing more than a whipsaw of efforts that only highlight the punchline to the joke that most people already know, that shopping online was already more convenient and easier than shopping at a mall. Number 3. Beauty industries. The coronavirus majorly impacted the beauty industry in the future, as people turn to DIY services at home. As a result of the coronavirus, beauty workers and retailers across the nation are struggling to maintain their businesses as usual. In a new report from data company Poshly, it's revealed that both cosmetic retailers and beauty service workers are facing unprecedented challenges to keep their businesses running as usual. Salons are closing across the nation, leaving makeup artists and hairstylists out of work. It's becoming increasingly clear that the pandemic will likely leave a lasting impact on the billion-dollar industry. For the time being, many beauty workers are shifting their businesses to focus on digital classes rather than in-person makeovers. Social distancing and quarantines are now leading people to get creative and experiment with their looks. For example, people who have been reliant on going to the salon for decades are now trying to replicate their stylist's work using at-home hair kits. At the end of the day, the future of the beauty industry is uncertain. There's no telling how many consumers will actually shop for makeup and skincare once the pandemic ends. And it's equally unclear if service workers will see lasting impacts from the virus. Number 4. Gyms and fitness centers. As people are advised to stay indoors and avoid crowds, most gyms across the world have stayed closed. Gyms and fitness centers are struggling to stay afloat as members cancel subscriptions and on-premise retail sales become a thing of the past. These firms are getting creative with their revenue models by launching everything from digital classes to equipment rentals to keep money coming in. Some are trying out new forms of business such as launching pre-recorded online classes or live streaming fitness sessions. Subsequently, many members opt in buying bikes and treadmills while staying away from gyms. Such large investments in home equipment could have long-lasting negative impacts for gyms if clients choose to stay home to ensure that their expensive purchases get significant usage. But the longer consumers develop habits to live life without gyms, the harder they may have to work to entice consumers to return. Despite offering heavy discounts and conducting routine on-site disinfection, gyms lost a huge number of daily customers shortly after reopening. Number 5. Events industry. It is clear that the meeting industry has been strongly affected by the disruptive effects of COVID-19. Since the onset of the epidemic, hundreds of thousands of events have been cancelled all over the world, and waking up to the news of cancellations or postponements has become the new normal. In this unusual scenario, event organizers are required to reconsider their options and to balance two priorities. On the one hand, it is crucial to uphold the health and safety of staff, sponsors, and attendees. And on the other, it is necessary to meet financial obligations, or at the very least to minimize the losses caused by disruption. In today's rapidly changing environment, preparedness and crisis management should be integral aspects of event planning. Number 6. Cinemas and theaters. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a substantial impact on the film industry, mirroring its impacts across all art sectors. Across the world, and to varying degrees, cinemas and movie theaters have been closed, festivals have been cancelled or postponed, and film releases have been moved to future dates or delayed indefinitely. As cinemas and movie theaters closed, the global box office dropped by billions of dollars, streaming became more popular, and the stock of film exhibitors dropped dramatically. Many blockbusters originally scheduled to be released between March and November were postponed or cancelled around the world, with film productions also being put on a halt. Number 7. Learning institutions. Efforts to stem the spread of COVID-19 through non-pharmaceutical interventions and preventive measures such as social distancing and self-isolation have prompted the widespread closure of primary, secondary, and tertiary schooling in over 100 countries. Most governments around the world have temporarily closed educational institutions in an attempt to contain the spread of COVID-19. As of June 7th, approximately 1.725 billion learners are currently affected due to school closures in response to the pandemic. According to UNICEF monitoring, 134 countries are currently implementing nationwide closures and 38 are implementing local closures, impacting about 98.5% of the world's student population. 39 countries' schools are currently open. School closures impact not only students, teachers, and families, but there are far-reaching economic and societal consequences. School closures in response to the pandemic have shed light on various social and economic issues. Number 8. Sports. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused the most significant disruption to the world sporting calendar since World War II. Across the world and to varying degrees, sports events have been cancelled or postponed. The 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo were rescheduled to 2021. Spectators have no games to watch and players no games to play. Only a few countries such as Turkmenistan, Belarus, and Nicaragua have continued professional sporting matches as planned. Number 9. Airlines, cruise ship, and travel industries. Airlines. To limit the spread of the coronavirus disease, a total of 217 countries and territories worldwide have imposed travel restrictions. Such travel curbs have turned the travel and tourism industry into one of the largest casualties of the coronavirus pandemic. In the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, few industries have fallen as far and as fast as tourism. The technological revolution that brought us closer together by making travel and tourism easy and affordable, a revolution that fueled 1 billion trips a year, is helpless in halting a virus that demands we shelter in place. Much of the tourism industry built its financial strategy around a trouble-free future, planning for eternal blue skies, open borders, high tourism demand, an $8 trillion industry that defies the ups and downs of the market. Cruise ship industry. Cruise lines have become the face of the pandemic, as news articles chronicle the plight of ships carrying infected passengers searching for ports. The effect on the cruise business has been swift. Government and ports responded by preventing many cruise ships from docking and advising people to avoid traveling on cruise ships. Similarly, many cruise lines suspend their operations to mitigate the spread of the pandemic. Companies have lost $750 million in revenue since January, according to reports. Shares of the Big Fish, Royal Caribbean, Carnival, and Norwegian have dropped by 60 to 70%. Future losses will mount and it is likely that sailing will be postponed at least until July or August. The cruising industry faces more hurdles in the future. Governments may have an increased interest in illness reporting and sanitation inspections, which means more regulations. Number 10. Fashion industry. Apparel is a leading discretionary purchase. As many people are staying at home, there is less emphasis on getting dressed. Likewise, many people make clothing purchases ahead of special occasions such as weddings and vacations. But as many of these events have been cancelled or postponed, the impetus to buy new clothing is no longer there. Layoffs, furloughs, and pay cuts are also affecting sales. The COVID-19 pandemic affects the global fashion industry as governments close manufacturing plants and through store closures and event cancellations to slow the spread of the virus. The coronavirus pandemic has had a major impact on fashion brands worldwide. At the same time, the fashion industry faces challenges in consumer demand. New opportunities are also presenting themselves as fashion brands shift to make fashionable coronavirus face masks. Face masks during the COVID-19 pandemic have been trending as a fashion statement. It has been suggested that possibly no other piece of clothing that has had a trajectory like face masks. Something that began as purely protective transforming into a fashion statement in no time at all. The coronavirus has had unprecedented impacts on the world, and the worst is yet to come. Companies must act today if they are to bounce back in the future. Doing so will help the world as a whole recover, and we hope become more resilient in the process.